Hassan Whiteside has been the best story about the Heat this year, but this weekend, Whiteside showed us his nasty side. Mixed martial arts is not a mainstream sport, but if there's any sign that we're getting close to it being that way, is that the biggest star in all of American female sports right now punches other women in the face. We are just 2 weeks in, and the summer of Gronk has already been glorious. The life of the physically talented and mentally questionable tight end has become like one long reality TV show, and we can't help but watch. Dolphins head coach Joe Philbin went through personal tragedy this week with the death of his father. He left the team for a couple days, returned yesterday. Fins players said after the game that was a huge motivator for them as they put forth almost a flawless effort against the Chargers. The last week of spring training opened with the Marlins playing up in Port St. Lucie today, and one Marlin may have felt a little bit like a fish out of water after spending the last 3 years in the opposing dugout. Well, we were expecting lots of rain out here today. We didn't get any of that. What we did get was a lot of wind, and the golfers that performed the best in the first round of the Honda Classic today did it because they felt the most comfortable in the conditions. The Heat players have been celebrating since Game 7 ended on Thursday night. The fans got their big day here at American Airlines today.
I think you're still bitter about them losing so early.
I am a little bit. And why didn't you make a bracket this year, John?
I don't know. I was probably too wrapped up doing news.
Oh, okay. Doing work?
Doing work,
Hasn't stopped anyone else from making brackets. This is What's Lincoln Thinking. 300 of the best draft hopefuls will conduct job interviews in their underwear this week in Indianapolis. Watching 22-year-old young men doing the exercise test we all did in 6th grade gym class is not exactly appointment television until now.
So you know the way you would inspect meat in a supermarket? That's a little bit like what the combine is like. NFL prospects are poked, prodded, and peered at as they run, jump, and throw in an unchallenging environment. Because it's so much better to use this to judge what makes a good football player rather than tape of the football games that they've played. But now with 32 hours of combine television coverage, do you really want to watch this? Let's make it a little more challenging. Alabama wide receiver Amari Cooper gave us a great idea. Let's see how many push-up claps each player can do. Or 275-pound nose tackle Kenneth Kirksey from Rutgers. I would love to watch lineman backflips at the combine. But maybe we're not thinking big enough. How about instead of a shuttle run, they do the wear a car run? Instead of throwing out routes, they throw kegs. And we're done just holding up footballs. Now let's hold up trees. Still not big enough? Who cares about watching Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota throw? Let's watch them joust. Come on, NFL Network. Let's make this interesting. In fact, I double dare you. Let's take these physical challenges to a whole other level.
They're just jumping and running. Let's do something more exciting. Let's liven up the NFL.
The joust.
He was always so happy.
He was a great kid.
He was always very respectful.
Jordan Spinato was not the most talented or skilled athlete at American Heritage High School, but in the state championship game in 2007, he had an opportunity to etch his name into Florida high school legend.
Jordan Spinato, a 5'8" senior who has not attempted a field goal all year.
It happened so fast. It was like, let's just give the kid a shot.
I thought the last thing in the world was going to happen. He was going to make a 43-yard field goal.
We were like, oh my God, what if he doesn't make it?
To win a title. The kick is up. The kick is good. It's good.
It's like the moment you just dream of.
One of the greatest endings of a football game like I've ever been a part of.
State championship on a kick. No, those are things that you see in books, and you hear those stories and those myths.
Most exciting moment of my life right now.
After graduation from American Heritage, Jordan bounced around. He took some community college classes, crashed on some sofas with friends, and even spent a year in California with family. He returned home in the summer of 2013, and that's when his family started to notice a change.
The All-American kid with the great attitude was arrested. The charges were eventually dropped.
Then we realized he was really with kids he didn't belong to be hanging out with.
Normally we knew everybody.
And those new friends were introducing Jordan to a new world.
He was a mama's boy, and he always was, and it was hard to have that happen.
I didn't know that person. I didn't want him around my kids. I didn't even want to be in the same room as him. He was not my brother.
The Spinato family began to wonder if their son, who 5 years ago had experienced that ultimate sports high, was now trying to get that feeling from somewhere else.
I went in his room and I found like some tinfoil and stuff. I'm like, I don't know what this is, but Google really tells you everything.
When he looked at us in the face and we said, either you're going to have to move out or go to rehab, he said, it's me and I need help.
Heroin is the fastest growing drug in America. Last month, the Center for Disease Control announced a 39% spike in heroin deaths from 2012 to 2013. Heroin is also one of the hardest drugs to kick. Rehab patients have a success rate of less than 20%.
We just kept saying, be that percentage that makes it.
You read all of these horror stories, and I guess we were the horror story, The worst happened.
Jordan spent 40 days in rehab. On his third day home, Claude and Kim walked in on something no parent should see.
He wasn't answering the door. And in the back of my mind, I think I knew. My husband had to take the doorknob off and open the door.
Fortunately, we found him in our home, but that's better than not finding him at all.
He was a kid that you thought had it all, had it all going for him.
I just want to die. I mean, it's like the happiest moment. How could this kid, surrounded by all that love, how could this happen to him? It's like just heart-wrenching. My heart has a hole in it. I just want to relive that moment again.
A respectful, happy young man from a close family. If heroin can take down Jordan Spinano, it can take down anyone.
Oh, man, what a kick.
Spinano may have made the kick of his life, but he could not kick the one thing that took it.
Sitting with that family, you get the sense of pride that they still have in their son, not just with that kick, but he was a soccer state champion. He was so popular. All of his senior class came to his house for their graduation party. He was a young man on his way to becoming someone. But, Coach Bueno said in this interview, it's a hard, hard world. And it just caught up with Jordan Spinano.
Well, it's misting again here. It's been terrible weather from the start of the day to the end. We've had about 3.5 hours worth of delays. So what does that mean? Well, some of the guys haven't even started their second rounds yet, which means they're not going to finish before the sun sets here tonight. They'll have to finish their second rounds very early tomorrow morning, probably starting at about 6:30, and then they'll try to squeeze that third round in as well, which means this course is going to be very busy this weekend in hopes of getting the tournament finished by Sunday afternoon. Live out at the Honda Classic, I'm Matt Lincoln for CBS 12.